fallout from Vice President Harris's first big sit-down. One opinion columnist for the New York Times calling Harris in the interview vague and vivacious. The Guardian saying the much-hyped interview was radically normal. And the Wall Street Journal's editorial board called her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, an interview crutch, saying it's a deliberate attempt to limit the potential exposure risks for the vice president. Joining me now to discuss is Steve Cortes, former senior media advisor to J.D. Vance's Senate campaign. He is also a former senior advisor to Trump for president in 2016 and 2020. I'm also joined by Taryn Rosenkranz, founder and chief executive officer of New Blue Interactive. She is also the former managing director for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Thank you both for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Taryn, I want to start with both of you on this one. I'll start with Taryn on this one going forward, but I want to hear from both of you on this. It's about the muted mic situation going on this back and forth between the Trump campaign, the Harris campaign, and ABC News, who's hosting the debate. Something came out today saying VP Harris personally challenges Trump not to let his handlers overrule him on muting his mic in the ABC debate. Trump said on Monday he would prefer the mics unmuted, and his campaign team is saying they want to keep them muted. Where is this all going to end up, this debate over the muted mics?
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to land, but I think it's really interesting. I mean, you're having Trump go up against a prosecutor. It's a very different debate than what he faced last time. And I think that his confidence on where he's going to be is something that his handlers may not be as confident of. I think that you've got a very interesting opportunity for him to, do what he might do, which is walk into a few things that he doesn't want to do, and his handlers may not want him to do. So I think, Vice President Harris is quite ready for this and quite prepared and ready to take him on and to be able to really discuss and go through what she wants to do, really give the American people an opportunity to hear from her.
Steve, what do you think?
Well, if Kamala Harris is so ready, then why isn't she availing herself to the press and to the American people? More importantly, it shows to me tremendous disrespect for the American public that she is not willing to make herself available for the interview process for the most important job in the entire world. She's been 6 weeks now the nominee since she was coronated, not elected, coronated by Democratic power brokers in a backroom deal. And she's done one sham interview that was taped at the friendliest possible network outlet, along with her crutch of Tim Walz. So it is time for her to face scrutiny. Donald Trump, for even his detractors, I think, would recognize he is probably the most scrutinized man in the history of American politics. It's time for Kamala Harris to face scrutiny. Part of that is a debate that is not encumbered by ridiculous restrictions and rules. Let's have the microphones open. Let's have the questions open. It's time for her to face the reality of her Marxist California record and why she claims to have switched her positions now. Donald Trump will do that effectively in the debate, and the American people deserve the chance to see her real answers.
Taryn, should she do more interviews pre-debate and post-debate? And what did you make of the one on Thursday?
Yeah, well, at first I will say that there is such a truncated timeline here. I mean, we are talking 67 days till Election Day, and this is something where she needs to be able to get out there and talk to voters. If we had her doing a bunch of media interviews, we would have criticism that she wasn't out there talking to voters. That's the truth. We're going to, the other side and Trump's campaign and everybody out there is going to criticize her no matter what she does. There was a lot of criticism with the Hillary campaign back in the day that she wasn't out there talking to voters. So I think it's really, really important that she gets out there, she says her position, that she's out there talking to people, real people, American people, about what she wants to do, her plan to cut taxes for the middle class, reduce grocery costs, take on this corporate price gouging, doing all the things that we want to do to help the American people. And I think that's what's most important. Not that she sits down necessarily and has the American people. She's doing a debate. She got out there and said, when? Let's do this. Let's stick with the September 10th. He was the one that was pulling back from that. Let's not forget that. So I think we're ready, we're willing, we're able, and I think this is going to be a great debate on the 10th, and I'm looking forward to it.
Taryn, you know that this is unprecedented in the history of presidential politics. That somebody would be the nominee for 6 weeks
Of course it is.
and submit
this is an unusual situation.
Okay, but hold on, and submit to exactly one interview with an incredibly friendly network, 18 minutes of taped and potentially edited coverage. I mean, that is unprecedented, and it's unhealthy for our republic. I mean, you have to admit that. This is not the way an American healthy
I think
republic
this
should
whole
operate.
entire thing is unprecedented. And I think every step of the way, no matter what we do, this is going to be unprecedented. And I think every decision is going to be scrutinized in a way that we're going to criticize whatever it is that everyone does. I mean,
Okay, but it's
from
not
both
just
sides, if you think
unprecedented,
about
it's
it, because this
unhealthy.
is something that we're all walking into unprecedented.
All right, well, let me
It's a
jump in here with
decision
another
that is
question here.
working.
And this one for you, Steve. I want to ask you how much, since we're on the debate, how much do you think this debate could impact Trump's campaign?
Oh, listen, I think it's going to be massive because the corrupt corporate media, unfortunately, has cooperated with Kamala Harris in completely hiding her and protecting her and not subjecting her to scrutiny. Probably the only chance the American people are going to get to see her truly questioned, to see her record truly exposed and revealed, will be in a debate. Hopefully, there's going to be multiple. Looks like there'll be 2 debates. So it could very well be decisive. And look, I'll be the first to admit this is an incredibly tight race. You know, all credible polling shows that the battleground states are essentially tied. And in a scenario like that, if Kamala Harris insists on continuing to hide and the corporate media continues to protect her with that shameful decision, then the only chance, the crucial chance for Donald Trump to expose who she is going to be in debates.
I want to ask you too, Taryn, about, we saw at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, a lot of celebrities coming out in support of Harris, coming on stage. We saw Pink on stage. There was all the rumors going around that Beyonce was maybe going to show up. She comes out to her song on stage. What's the strategy with the celebrity voices? Do you think that's resonating with voters? Do you feel like it's out of touch?
I actually think this is something that it's because of Donald Trump and who he is, and that he is a celebrity in his own right and considers himself a celebrity, that you're seeing more of this. But it's also just part of modern campaigning because of social media and who we are in this 24/7 hyper-connected world. As a digital media strategy firm, I can tell you this is part of modern campaigning. This is who we have to be. We have to have as many voices and who people are considering influential and where they need to be and how their voices are out there being heard. Both sides have a lot of celebrities. I mean, you certainly saw Hulk Hogan at the Republican National Convention come out there for folks. We are expecting that as part of the American, culture, that we're expecting these people to come out. I do think it's part of what we see. It's part of fundraising. It's part of the sort of fun of it all. I don't think anyone takes it too seriously. I don't think anyone cares necessarily who they are voting for. I think it's just a part of the riling the base up.
And Steve, on the other side, we've seen RFK Jr. come out in support of Trump just last week, and Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat, saying that she's supporting Trump and joining their transition team. Are these endorsements, do you see helping the campaign? Do you see some of their voters shifting to Trump, or is that not the case?
Oh, no, definitely. Look, listen, I think this is a movement that's even bigger than this election, but it's certainly big for this election as well. It means that the Democrat Party is not your parents' or your grandparents' Democrat Party. It does not in any sense welcome people who have traditional values, who are workers, who are struggling to make ends meet right now. Rather, it is a party of the already successful, of cultural elites and the American ruling class, big business. That's the reality. So this America First coalition continues to grow, and that includes a lot of former Democrats, people like Tulsi Gabbard. It also includes a lot of Hispanics, something I paid a lot of attention to in my career in politics, and we continue to show incredible gains among Hispanic Americans. People who were previously Democrats, were taken for granted by the Democrat Party, but are no longer welcome in a Democrat Party that is now entirely radicalized. And so it's a movement that is important, not just for this election, but even bigger picture for the United States.
And we're seeing the same effect on the other side. We saw some Republicans that previously supported Trump coming out in support of Harris when we were at the convention in Chicago. I want to get your thoughts on RFK Jr. really quickly, Taryn, and what do you make of him coming out in support of Trump?
I actually think at this point it was sort of expected. I don't think it was a surprise to many when he did endorse him. And I think it was to a lot of folks a welcome that he maybe dropped out of the race. I think it does change the dynamic quite a bit. This entire race has just changed on its head with just so little time left, and has made everything so different. This truncated timeline, as I've mentioned, has just blown everything up. And I truly do believe the word you used earlier is perfect, unprecedented. It is unprecedented and historic for so many reasons. And it's certainly one to watch.
But it's also important to note Why do we
situation.
have this truncated timeline? Why is it unprecedented? It's because the entire Democrat establishment, including and chiefly Kamala Harris, lied to the American people about the cognitive ability of Joe Biden. That's the reality. So it's not unprecedented just because of bad luck or circumstances. It's because of a decision
it's
of Democrat
interesting
elites
that
to
the
lie to
American
the American
people are
people.
responding because they didn't want a Trump-Biden rematch. That's the truth. I think we're seeing this excitement and enthusiasm about an election from young people and from people and voters all across the country. You're seeing this difference in the polls. You're seeing this difference in joy being brought back. You're seeing this enthusiasm about voting and about this because they didn't want a Trump-Biden rematch, because voters want change. Voters want to restore and think forward and move forward. And I think that's what we're really seeing. And I think that's not about any kind of establishment or coronation or any of the other things you accused of. I think this is about people wanting change.
If it's change,
you,
why would we
guys.
reelect the incumbent vice president of the United States, who has been the vice president for three and a half
the former
years?
vice or the former
I know I
president.
feel bad cutting this off. This is a spirited debate, and I appreciate you both joining us today. A lot of different things to discuss, but we thank you for this discussion here on News Nation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Well,